What's going on, everyone? In today's episode, we're protecting our fruit trees. I thought I'd bring you guys along because a lot of you asked how we were going to protect over 300 fruit trees. So I've got a solution. It's super simple, and I think you guys are going to be able to benefit as well and probably use it in your garden, because protecting your freshly planted trees is something that every gardener should do, especially if you live in a place that gets winter, because in the winter, when there's less food around, the animals get hungry and they'll come for the fresh bark on your trees. So these are called tree tubes. You can get them in varying heights and lengths and sizes, colors, but we went with just a very basic white tree tube. Now, tree tubes are so important. A lot of people will use things like concrete reinforcement, and you can absolutely do that. You can take chicken wire as well and basically make a little tube to go around your trees. The problem that I have with some of those other options, and why tree tubes for me are going to be the option that we're going to go with, is twofold. One, cost. These cost about $1.50 a piece. We bought them in bulk. Even if you buy them not in bulk, you can find them on Amazon. I'll try to find a link to them and link them in the description box down below. But we got them in bulk from a nursery supply company, and we bought them in a pack of 100. We're planting out 300 trees, so we're gonna need a lot of them. But they came out to like $1.50 a piece. When compared to other materials, super, super cheap. Another thing, it's kind of 1.5 on this. Not only are they cheap, but they're really fast to apply. If you have to take time to kind of cut metal out, make your little cages, for a home gardener, if it was our home nursery, absolutely, 100%, I would recommend it for anyone to take the time to cut out the material. If you want to go cheap and do it that way, it won't take you that long. But to do that for 300 trees, the cost of the material and the time it's going to take to cut each one out and make our little guards out of like chicken wire or concrete reinforcement would just be not efficient, or it'd be kind of a little cost prohibitive. So this is lightweight and very easy to apply. I'll show you how to apply them in a second, but definitely recommended. The second reason why we're going with these little white tree collars here is because there's no holes. That's, for me, probably the biggest reason. Yes, they're lightweight. Yes, they're faster to put on, and yes, they're a little cheaper, but the holes is a big reason. And that comes down to the food source. So these trees, they have a very, very young outer bark. The bark is what protects the tree from the inner cambium layer. If the bark gets removed, some trees can heal if the damage is very minimal. However, oftentimes what mice and rabbits will do is when there's very little forage, they're going to come in here and they're actually going to chew away that bark from the base of the tree, and it actually will girdle the stem. It actually causes it to die. And that's probably one of the largest reasons why you're going to lose trees over the winter. Now, these are not going to protect the tree from things like deer. That's what we have a deer fence for. The tops of the trees are still going to be vulnerable to a hungry deer chomping on the fresh little buds. However, these collars are going to protect us from the chewing pests like the rabbits and the mice at the base. Now, these are also going to be very, very important to protect the trunk from deer during rut season. Now, if you've never seen a deer scraping before, I'm gonna have Hannah throw up some pictures of a deer scraping. Now, the deer scrapings, basically what they do is they will rub their antlers on the trunk of a tree to mark their scent, and that's what they do during the rut. And young trees are very susceptible to being scraped because the bark is very, very thin on them. And so deer will find young saplings and seedlings to scrape. And when that happens, it will almost inevitably kill the tree. So it's very important. And they target typically the bottom 24 inches of tree. So these right here are 18 inches. We could have gone higher. The problem was with the size of our trees. Here, I just wanted to make sure that we didn't have a tree collar way up high here, because you can get taller tree collars. It's just these were 18 inches, and they're going to be more than fine, especially because we do have our deer fence up, and that's going to keep hopefully almost 100% of the deer off the property. So that's what the purpose of the tree collars are there for. Now I'm going to show you just how simple it is to install. All right, so how these work, pretty simple. So take it out from the bundle here. They have 4 tabs, and it's kind of springed closed on itself, but it's got a tab here, a tab here, a tab here, and a tab here. Now, what I found works best is so it naturally, when they're coiled up like this, they're naturally going to want to spring into a circle like this. And to get the circle a little wider and have a little less strength, I'll take the outside and tuck it on the inside, if that makes sense. And that way it's kind of, the spring is kind of fighting itself. The one radius wants to be a little bit wider, and it helps kind of hold that circle open a little bit so that you can kind of get it around the tree a little easier. And then we're simply going to take it and wrap it around the tree like this. And then you want to take the one tab and push it through the inside. There we go, just like that. Okay. And then we're going to take the other tab. We're going to push it through the inside just like that. And that is it. And now we're going to take the collar, and we're going to push it ever so slightly to make good contact with the soil so that nothing can get up underneath that. And that is going to be our tree collar. Now, very important, I'll show you it one more time because it happens pretty fast. Very important, you take these off in the spring. A lot of people will say you can leave them on all the time. In my opinion, could not be more detrimental to the plant's health. In the springtime, this is not going to breathe. It's going to be very great at protecting from chewing animals. But in the spring, once things start to grow and there's lots of forage, no animals are going to be interested in your fruit tree bark. So at that point, you would then just take your trees like this, remove them, and they'd be good to go. And I would probably recommend doing this from the people that I spoke to every fall. Make this a habit to put these on your trees. In the spring, once things start to leaf out and the grass starts to grow back, take them off, because these are not breathable. That's the one benefit to going with something like a mesh or like a chicken wire, concrete reinforcement, is it's gonna be breathable. But any mouse can hop right through that hole and chew your bark in the winter. That's why these are, in my opinion, better than concrete reinforcement, but you've got to weigh the pros and cons. Do you have the time to take these off? For me, it's definitely worth it. To do 300 of these, I mean, it takes 30 seconds per tree to do. Take it off in the spring, do it again in the fall. Until the tree is mature enough, it's forming enough bark to kind of protect itself, and the bark is kind of thickened up. That might be 2 or 3 seasons. Well worth it. Just curl all these together, roll them up in a big tube, wrap a rubber band around it, throw it in storage until the fall. In my opinion, that's what we're gonna do. But again, that's the great thing about the internet, is I simply throw out suggestions and ideas. You can choose to take them or not. That's fine. I'm no orchard pro. I simply have talked to quite a few people that have orchards, and that's just what they've told me, is that because these don't breathe, you're going to find that in the spring, if you leave them on a long time, it'll create some algae, you'll get some mold, and you can also sometimes get some trunk rot. So it's highly suggested to remove them in the spring, but well worth it, because once you lose the bark on these trees, sometimes that's all it takes to kill them. All right, so in real time here, we're gonna get this tree protected. We're gonna take it, slide it from the group here. Now it's really wound up. We're going to wrap it around the tree, and we have to remember to kind of put the inside on the outside and the outside on the inside, so it's not super tight. Kind of reduces that strength a little bit of the coil. We're gonna take these tabs, push it in just like that. Then on so it wants to spring in on itself. But once these tabs are in place, it just locks in, and you're good to go. So just like that. So again, that wasn't even 30 seconds. That might've been like 15. But push it down, move on to the next tree. All right, so another part of how we're protecting our trees from deer has to do with our deer fence. And I thought I'd kind of just lump this into one video, simply because a lot of you have been asking on updates of what we're actually doing with our deer fence. A lot of you vocalized that the height of the fence we were putting in was not gonna be tall enough to keep deer out. So I thought I'd just do a little bit of explaining on everything now that it's kind of almost all finished, so that we can hopefully kind of summarize all this up and tie it up with a pretty little bow. So what we've got here is a couple different things. The first thing is called a psychological fence. Now you'll see on the outside, if you look on the outside here, we got this white fence. That's actually an electrically charged fence. Now that's hooked up to a solar battery, or a solar charged battery at the start. connects the whole property up with about 0.15 joules of electricity, which is a real nice poke if you bump it. So that's the first line of defense, is electric, but then also it's the distance away. So it's set about 3.5 feet away from this fence here, which causes the deer to have to assess their jumping distance. And because they can't get right up to the fence, they have very poor depth perception. The distance between the two fences throws them off as well, meaning that if the electricity did not deter them, the distance is going to deter them, but then also we combine that with the height. So these right now are about 6 feet tall. Yes, a deer can absolutely jump over 6 feet. I knew that. And that is specifically why I said in the video, if you go back, that I did specify that in open areas where deer can easily jump over, we have the psychological fence. Now we have the psychological fence running the whole distance, but we especially wanted it in the open areas because for sure, a deer would laugh at this fence. Absolutely. Deer can jump vertically, 6 feet, no problem, up to 8 feet. So that ties into the final thing that we haven't done yet, but we're going to be doing. We have to dig, these posts are all just kind of, they're buried, but they're not permanently buried. We have a guy coming with a post hole driver, or a post driver, and he's going to drive them down an additional 12 to 18 inches because we couldn't get them that deep with the instruments and the materials we had. We couldn't get them as deep as we wanted. And so because of that, they're going to be even shorter yet. And they're going to be roughly about 5.5 feet tall once he finishes driving them in the ground. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to go through, and about every 30 to 50 feet, we're going to attach a piece of T-post, a nice rigid piece of T-post. And from that, we're going to string an additional 2 lines of string, not wire. It doesn't even have to be crazy tough. It could be fishing line. And then from there, we're going to put ribbons on it so they can see it. And that will put our fence at approximately 9 feet tall total. 9 feet is way more than enough to keep most deer out. Some people say they can jump 12 feet. But again, with the psychological fence, the electricity, plus the 9 feet, I think for all the naysayers, if there's a deer that can jump through all of that and still get on the property, at that point, I couldn't even be mad. At that point, my hat goes off to the deer. So, but I don't think it's going to be a frequent occurrence. If that does happen, I think it'll be something out of fear, or a really strong, very agile deer gets through that. And in that case, we're talking one deer, which can do some damage, but it's a heck of a lot better than the herds of deer that are in this area. Literally last night, there were 4 deer in the back of the property, and they come all the time into this property. And that's just the start. Our neighbors told us there's a herd of almost 50 deer that the state tracks in this area here. They go between, there's 2 different rivers that intersect, or 2 different tributaries, I should say. And there's a herd of almost 50 deer that basically patrol this area. So that was like 10% of the total herd population. And 50 deer would clean this right out. I mean, they'd mow this flat. So absolutely, the fence is going to do something. It's certainly going to help. And I will say also, before we even extended the fence, I've noticed fresh deer tracks on the outside of the fence. Last night when we were here doing another video, we noticed that a lot of the deer tracks were going parallel to the fence line, meaning they're walking the fence trying to find a place to jump over, but they were not successful. And that to me is very relieving as well. That's without extending the fence. So that is kind of our full tactic to reducing deer and protecting deer, or protecting our trees from deer, I should say. And then the very final thing that we're going to implement is just hanging some bars of ivory soap. That's something that a lot of people have done for a long time. We're going to hang some bars of, Irish Spring soap. We're going to hang about every 75 to 100 feet. We're going to hang on a string just some Irish Spring soap, and apparently that also is really reliable at kind of controlling and preventing deer damage. So we're going to try those 3 tactics to keeping our trees deer free. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you all learned something new. And the next episode we're going to do is we're going to talk about the Heritage Orchard. So stay tuned. I'm not sure when this video is going to go up, but when you see this video, the very next video we're going to do is going to be about the Heritage Orchard and how we are going to plant this out to essentially preserve the amazing biodiversity of over 300 different apple trees. So I think you guys are really going to love that, and I can't wait to film that one for you guys. So, all right, I'll catch you all in the next episode. As always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel, hoping if you enjoyed that you hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, we'll catch you all on the next one. Grow bigger. Bye. Hey, thank you so much for watching today's video. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed, consider clicking this one. You'll probably enjoy it just as much. I want to thank you for your viewership, because without it, this channel would not be as amazing as it is. Also, if you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. It's free, and we upload videos every Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. We also have vegetable seeds, fertilizer, or tools. If you need any of those, consider visiting MIgardener.com. Links will be in the description box below. We've got you covered. And as always, we'll see you all in the garden. Take care. Bye.